Have you ever found yourself awake at night, propped up by pillows, trying to keep that burning sensation in your chest at bay? Many people over 65 know all too well what it feels like when acid reflux refuses to let them rest. It can creep into daily routines. Suddenly, a simple pleasure, like enjoying a warm cup of tea, becomes a moment of uncertainty. If you've been nodding along, you're certainly not alone. Acid reflux, also called gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, when it's persistent, can be frustrating at any age, but it can feel especially relentless once we hit our mid-60s and beyond. The discomfort isn't just physical, it chips away at our freedom to savor meals, travel comfortably, and even get a good night's sleep. And no matter how minor it might seem, any health challenge that interferes with the ability to live independently is worth our attention. For many older adults, a typical response is to dismiss these flare-ups as a normal part of getting older, thinking, well, maybe I just have to live with it. But here's a crucial point. Persistent acid reflux isn't something you have to resign yourself to. In fact, addressing it properly can help protect your esophagus, improve your overall digestion, and grant you the freedom to enjoy everyday life without that nagging burn. Plus, when acid reflux is managed well, it reduces the risk of further complications that, if neglected, might lead to more serious health issues. The potential benefit goes beyond avoiding discomfort. It's about maintaining the ability to do what you love, whether that's gardening in the sunshine, taking leisurely walks with close friends, or hosting family gatherings without worrying about the aftermath of a hearty meal. During our conversation here, you'll discover how you can challenge the notion that persistent acid reflux is simply inevitable after 65. We'll look at what really goes on in our bodies that leads to acid reflux, and why some well-known over-the-counter solutions might not be cutting it anymore. You'll learn about a class of prescription antacids, often referred to as proton pump inhibitors, but there are other kinds too, that many healthcare providers consider especially helpful for older adults. There's a transformation waiting, from feeling like you're constantly guarding against surprise flare-ups to feeling more in control of your digestion. You'll see how proper guidance, alongside a few daily adjustments, can make a substantial difference in comfort and peace of mind. My goal is to share information in a way that respects your experience, recognizing that health decisions are personal and often involve more than just one factor. That's why we'll also talk about balancing prescription options with lifestyle approaches, physical activity, meal planning, and mindful eating habits that fit into a variety of living situations. I'm not a doctor, but I've seen patterns, read through general expert discussions, and heard from plenty of older adults dealing with these challenges. Think of this as an informed conversation among friends, with enough detail to help you feel confident asking the right questions at your next medical appointment. Before we move forward, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. How often do you find acid reflux holding you back? Are there activities or foods you avoid because you fear that burning sensation at night? You might find it helpful to keep those thoughts in mind as we explore practical steps to regain control. So let's jump in. By the end, you'll have a clearer path to managing acid reflux, greater confidence in discussing prescription options with your healthcare provider, and fresh optimism for preserving your autonomy and independence, even if this issue has been a thorn in your side for longer than you'd like to remember. Now let's challenge some common assumptions and explore a few important truths about managing acid reflux after 65. You've likely heard it said that heartburn or reflux is just par for the course as we age. There's a good chance friends or family members have joked about it or shrugged it off as an unfortunate consequence of getting older. However, believing this can lead us to ignore something that can often be improved. A big misconception is that acid reflux always stays the same over time, that whatever worked for you at 50 should be just as effective now that you're 70. That's not necessarily correct. When people get older, the muscle at the base of the esophagus called the lower esophageal sphincter might weaken. Our stomachs might take slightly longer to break down meals, and certain medications for other conditions can affect the production of stomach acid. All these shifts mean that the acid reflux you experience at 65 could behave differently than what you once dealt with decades ago. This was certainly the case for Martin, a gentleman I spoke with recently who is 69. Back in his 50s, Martin managed occasional heartburn with a simple over-the-counter antacid. It worked well enough that he didn't think much about it. But in recent years, he noticed not only was the heartburn happening more frequently, but he also developed bouts of sour taste in his mouth and unexplained coughing spells at night. It got so bad that he hesitated to travel with his lifelong buddies for fear that he'd have to prop himself upright with pillows in a hotel, missing out on real rest. Like many older adults, Martin assumed his condition was just part of the deal with aging. But what he learned through his healthcare provider was that acid reflux can change in intensity due to factors such as a weakening sphincter, medication side effects, and shifts in digestive efficiency. In other words, his old remedy wasn't matching his new reality. It can be helpful to view acid reflux after 65 as a dynamic situation, not a fixed condition. Studies have noted that older adults may experience reflux symptoms differently than younger people. Sometimes the pain and burning can be more subtle, but the potential damage to the esophagus can still occur. That's why staying alert to new symptoms is so important. If you find yourself coughing at night, needing more pillows to sleep, or feeling an odd sense of pressure in your chest, even without the usual fiery sensation, that might be your body's way of signaling it's time to consider a more effective medication strategy. One of the most empowering steps you can take is to track your symptoms and triggers over a few weeks. Keep a simple diary of what you eat, when you eat, how you feel afterward, and any over-the-counter products you use. Notice if certain foods or meal timings consistently lead to discomfort. Also, pay attention to when the heartburn or reflux flares up. Maybe it's after a heavier meal in the evening or when you lie down too soon after dinner. By doing this, you gather evidence that will be incredibly valuable in discussions with your healthcare team. You might discover a clearer pattern of triggers or realize that your typical approach isn't doing the job anymore. Being proactive in this way can be the difference between merely coping with acid reflux and actively managing it. Following through on this advice can bring multiple benefits. For one, having a record of your experiences helps your doctor or pharmacist make more precise recommendations. You may feel more confident asking detailed questions rather than just saying, "I'm having some heartburn." Additionally, understanding your personal triggers can help you adapt your lifestyle. Small tweaks to meal timing, portion size, or even a gentle walking routine after dinner can reduce symptoms. Emotionally, there's a sense of relief in recognizing that you're not stuck with an inevitable decline in comfort. Instead, you've gained an element of control. Identifying patterns might also ease any anxiety about the unknown, showing you tangible steps you can take. Before we get into specific medication strategies, take a moment to consider whether you've done any consistent tracking of your symptoms. If not, maybe this week is the perfect time to start. The observations you make can offer valuable clues about how best to move forward. You might discover you only experience discomfort after certain rich sauces, or perhaps it's the time you eat, rather than the food itself. Getting precise about these patterns is a powerful first move in tackling acid reflux head-on. As you might suspect, not all antacids are created equal. Most people are familiar with the basic over-the-counter tablets or liquids that neutralize acid temporarily. They can help in a pinch, but there's a reason they might stop working effectively as we age. For many older adults dealing with persistent acid reflux, a class of prescription medications known as proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, or other forms of prescription strength antacids could be the next logical step. These medications differ from chewable antacids in that they reduce the amount of acid the stomach produces rather than simply neutralizing what's already there. Think of it like lowering the heat on a stove rather than just trying to cool off the pot after it's already boiling. A common misconception is that if over-the-counter solutions are failing, you just have to use them more often. But doubling down on a method that isn't designed for long-term relief might not only be ineffective, it can sometimes mask symptoms of an underlying issue that needs medical attention. Judith, who is 72, learned this the hard way. After years of popping antacid tablets almost daily, she noticed her symptoms weren't just the occasional burn. They were creeping into her life in unexpected ways. She started waking with a sore throat, found herself clearing her throat repeatedly throughout the day, and even began having difficulty swallowing certain foods. As it turned out, she was experiencing more serious esophageal inflammation. Her doctor prescribed a stronger antacid regimen that worked to reduce stomach acid production. It didn't fix everything instantly, but within a few weeks, she noticed a dramatic decrease in nighttime symptoms, and her throat irritation began to subside. Evidence-based insight here is that prescription antacids, including PPIs, can be very effective for older adults when used under proper guidance. They can help prevent acid from continuing to damage the esophagus, reducing the risk of complications like esophagitis or even more severe conditions. However, it's also true that any medication, especially one intended for longer-term use, carries potential side effects. For instance, some studies have examined the relationship between chronic use of certain PPIs and the absorption of key nutrients such as magnesium, calcium, and vitamin B12. This doesn't mean you should avoid them altogether. It means you'll want to talk with your healthcare provider about monitoring your overall nutrient levels. You might also discuss whether periodic breaks or a lower dosage could be right for you, depending on how well your symptoms are controlled. Practically speaking, what does this look like for you? It starts with an open conversation with your doctor or a trusted pharmacist. Bring your symptom journal, if you've started one, and discuss how often you experience reflux, what times of day it happens, and how your current remedies are working. Ask specific questions. Am I a candidate for a prescription antacid? How long might I need to use it? Should we check my nutrient levels periodically if I go this route? In many cases, a short course of prescription medication might be enough to help heal an inflamed esophagus, after which you and your doctor could reassess whether a milder option or a different approach is more suitable for daily management. The key is that you're not guessing. You're relying on professional insight, guided by the patterns you've observed in your own symptoms. Emotionally, knowing there's a more potent medication out there can be a huge relief. Perhaps you felt stuck using the same over-the-counter product with diminishing returns, growing worried about how this nagging pain might escalate. Embracing a medication strategy under supervision can restore a sense of independence. You won't be tied to the unpredictability of flare-ups, and you can more confidently plan social events or travel. There's also the added reassurance that if your body reacts negatively or if it doesn't work as expected, you have a healthcare partner you can return to for adjustments. At this point, you might be thinking about questions or concerns. What if you're already on multiple medications for other conditions? What if you can't tolerate certain pills or are worried about cost? These are all valid concerns. Many seniors deal with multiple prescriptions, and it's essential to avoid harmful interactions or overcomplicating a medication schedule. That's where a comprehensive medication review comes in. Even if you've never done one, it's never too late to ask your pharmacist or doctor to look over your entire regimen. They can check for potential interactions, see if any of your current drugs might be worsening your acid reflux, and determine the best timing for taking a prescription antacid. As for financial considerations, generic versions of many prescription antacids exist and could be covered by insurance plans, making them more affordable than you might expect. Take a brief pause to consider. Are you satisfied with how effectively your current antacid approach is handling your reflux? If you're frequently searching for relief, maybe it's time to explore the prescription route. Discuss it with your healthcare team, weigh the pros and cons, and make an informed choice that supports your overall sense of well-being. Remember, you have the right to ask questions and insist on clarity, ensuring that any medication you add into your life truly benefits you. While medication can be a big part of the puzzle, it's rarely the entire solution, especially when preserving autonomy and quality of life is the goal. Many people assume that once they have a prescription, that's all they need. The misconception here is that lifestyle adjustments don't matter if you're on an effective medication. However, nothing could be further from the truth. Medication can only do so much if we continue behaviors that aggravate the condition. The good news is that most of these adjustments aren't drastic. They're often small changes that can have a significant, lasting impact. Meet Elaine, who is 76 and has been on a prescription antacid for a few years. Initially, it worked wonders. But over time, she noticed that if she ate dinner too late or indulged in a second cup of coffee right before bed, her reflux symptoms would still flare. Rather than giving up on her medication, she started implementing a few lifestyle changes suggested by a community health educator at her local senior center. She began having her last meal at least 3 hours before bedtime, switched to decaffeinated coffee after midday, and added a short walk around the block after dinner. Remarkably, these tweaks made her prescription antacid regimen more effective. Her nightly discomfort eased considerably, and she regained the confidence to attend social gatherings without worrying that a late dinner would ruin her entire evening. From an evidence-based standpoint, combining medication with lifestyle habits tends to yield better results than relying on pills alone. It's similar to how high blood pressure can be managed not just with medication, but also with dietary choices, regular exercise, and stress management. With acid reflux, certain foods, drinks, and mealtime routines are proven triggers. Spicy dishes, citrusy fruits, chocolate, caffeinated beverages, and heavy meals before lying down all have the potential to worsen symptoms. Staying upright for a bit after meals allows gravity to help keep acid where it belongs, in your stomach. And adding some gentle activity, such as a short walk, can promote digestion, especially important in older adults who may have slower gastric motility. Here are a few practical ideas you can consider. If you love a particular dish that's spicy or citrus-based, try having it at lunchtime when you'll be upright and more active for hours afterward. Avoid eating right before bed. Give yourself at least a few hours to digest. If large meals trigger discomfort, switch to smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. Some older adults even find mild relief by propping the head of their bed slightly. It doesn't have to be a huge incline, just enough to use gravity to prevent acid from creeping upward. And remember, moderation is key. No one is asking you to swear off coffee or chocolate forever, but cutting back or timing them differently can make a difference. On the emotional side, these daily changes can instill a sense of empowerment. Instead of feeling like a passive recipient of medication, you become an active participant in your health plan. You're telling your body, I hear you, and I'm making adjustments to support you. Over time, these small acts of self-care can add up to a significant improvement in how you feel day to day. They can also reinforce the success of your medication, making it more likely that you can manage reflux effectively without continually having to increase dosages or switch prescriptions. Now let's talk about physical activity, because many seniors worry about how exercise might affect reflux. The truth is that moderate, low-impact exercises, like walking, swimming, or gentle yoga, often help with digestion. Strenuous activity immediately after eating can sometimes worsen reflux, so spacing out meals and workouts is wise. But overall, maintaining a healthy weight, if medically appropriate, through regular movement is one of the best ways to reduce pressure on the abdomen, which helps limit reflux episodes. Even if mobility is limited, chair exercises and light stretching can promote circulation and digestion. You might explore what feels comfortable and sustainable, always checking with your healthcare provider if you're starting a new routine. If some of these tips feel like they'd be challenging, remember that gradual change is better than no change at all. Pick one new habit and test it for a week. Maybe that's adjusting your dinner time, or replacing half your coffee intake with decaf. Then once you see how it impacts your reflux, you can either continue, refine it, or try another shift. The best results often come from a blend of personalized medication management and lifestyle tweaks, each one supporting the other. Take another moment to reflect on what you've heard so far. Does anything stand out as an easy win you could try in the coming week? Jot it down, because the simplest changes often pave the way for bigger improvements. And remember, your body and circumstances are unique. What works for your neighbor or a friend may need slight adjustments to fit you. Yet with a bit of experimentation and ongoing dialogue with your healthcare provider, you can find a comfortable balance that keeps acid reflux in check and protects your freedom to enjoy life. We've covered a lot of ground: why acid reflux can become more troublesome after 65, how prescription antacids might be necessary if over-the-counter options aren't cutting it anymore, and how lifestyle habits profoundly influence the effectiveness of any treatment plan. By now you may see that managing acid reflux isn't about fixing one single factor. It's about piecing together the right combination of medication, daily routines, and self-awareness. This approach can not only soothe that uncomfortable burn, but also help preserve your independence, allowing you to worry less about your next meal and more about the things that truly enrich your life. If this issue has been interrupting your sleep or making you hesitate to enjoy social activities, now is the perfect time to act. Acid reflux may not vanish overnight, but every thoughtful step you take brings you closer to lasting relief. By tracking your symptoms, speaking openly with your healthcare team, and implementing a few targeted lifestyle changes, you could see improvements in just a matter of weeks. That sense of urgency is essential. Addressing reflux sooner rather than later can prevent complications like esophageal damage, which can be much harder to handle down the road. It's not about fear, it's about motivation and self-care. Imagine having the confidence to say yes to a family gathering without worrying about how you'll feel afterward, or traveling with friends and getting a full night's sleep. Those are the real rewards that come with taking action now. You don't have to do it alone. If you prefer step-by-step guidance, you could schedule an appointment to review your medication regimen. Perhaps join a local senior group that discusses health and wellness topics, or even form an informal support circle with friends who share similar challenges. Inquire about community classes that focus on gentle exercise or nutrition planning for older adults. For some, the next step might be as straightforward as picking up the phone to ask your pharmacist about potential prescription options, or it might be browsing a reliable online resource to learn more about reflux management. Whatever your comfort level, choose a step that resonates with you. And if you thrive on setting measurable goals, consider writing down a few. For instance, sleep comfortably through the night at least 5 nights this week, or limit caffeine to 1 cup of coffee per day for 2 weeks. For those who want to stay informed, consider signing up for newsletters from reputable senior health organizations. This can help you keep up with evolving insights on medication and nutrition. Others might find it useful to invest in a meal planning service tailored to older adults, ensuring you have easy, reflux-friendly dishes at the ready. These are not one-size-fits-all solutions, but they illustrate the many ways you can layer additional support into your daily life. Above all, remember that you hold considerable power in making decisions about your health. Even if you've struggled with reflux for years, it's never too late to seek more effective solutions. By maintaining an active partnership with your healthcare providers, staying curious about new strategies, and remaining open to small lifestyle modifications, you're crafting a path that respects both your comfort and your independence. Each moment you devote to understanding and managing acid reflux is a vote for a future in which you're not limited by burning pain or nighttime disruptions. As you think about what you've learned here, consider how it can play out in your life. Maybe tonight you'll try a lighter dinner earlier in the evening. Maybe tomorrow you'll call to schedule a check-in with your doctor or pharmacist. Perhaps this week you'll commit to that symptom journal so you can pinpoint patterns more precisely. Each of these steps, taken one after another, can fundamentally change how you experience acid reflux after 65. And when you look back, you might find it was this moment, right now, when you decided that reclaiming comfort and autonomy mattered enough to start making moves. With that in mind, I encourage you to pick a next step that feels right, take it, and watch how even a small change can lead to a significant, positive shift in your well-being. You have the wisdom and the agency to shape your journey. Don't let acid reflux stand in the way of living life on your terms.